Just waiting on a few folks to join. Okay, 5:30. Let's get started. First of all, good evening, and thank you to those that are joining us live, and those of you that will join us watching this recording later on. Welcome to our first virtual town hall meeting hosted by Bell, Carrington, Price, and Gregg. My name is Michael Gault, and I'm an eminent domain attorney at Bell, Carrington. Just briefly, a little bit about my background. Prior to my role at Bell Carrington, I had the opportunity to represent the South Carolina Department of Transportation for a number of years, representing the department on eminent domain projects like this one across the upstate of South Carolina. And now I'm fortunate enough to have the opportunity to represent landowners on projects like this one across the state. Briefly, you'll see over on the right-hand side of your screen our chat box. We're happy to have you enter any questions that you may have into that chat box as we go. You don't have to wait until the end to enter any questions that you may have. Put those in. I'll be happy to try to answer any that I can as soon as we finish our session. And if I can't answer your question specifically because of the forum that we're in, feel free to contact us. We'll have some contact information also in the chat box, and I'll be happy to reach out to you for a one-on-one to be able to answer any questions that you may have about your particular parcel or project as we go forward. So if you're here with us this evening, it's probably because you're either impacted by or you've at least heard of the Woodruff Road Congestion Relief Project. It's been in our local media here in the Greenville area for a few months now, but the truth is the project's been going on for some time, quite long before that. If you live, work, or in or around the Woodruff Road corridor like I am, you know just how busy it is, especially down along the 385 intersection. The DOT estimates that there are some 40,000 cars per day there, especially during peak busy seasons. And so at some point, back in 2017, the South Carolina Department of Transportation started looking into proposed alternatives as to how they might be able to alleviate some of the congestion there along Woodruff Road down near the 385 intersection. Again, back in 2017, so this has been going on for quite some time, but in 2017, they started some studies, some feasibility studies. They reached out to the public for public comment. They held a number of public meetings, and ultimately, they proposed 7 different alternative routes for a possible alleviation of the congestion there along Woodruff Road. Now, here we are in nearly October of 2022, and I'm excited to tell you that we now know which route the DOT has chosen. They've chosen alternative 6C. What does that mean? Well, basically, it just means that we know which way the project's going to go, which route it will take, and which landowners will be impacted as a result of this project. What does it look like? Well, that's the million-dollar question. It's essentially a newly constructed roadway. This is a roadway that will more or less parallel current Woodruff Road from about the Verde Boulevard and Roper Mountain Road intersection all the way down to 385. But it's, again, brand new construction. This is not a roadway that's currently existing that's going to be widened or anything like that. This is a new road to the west of the current Woodruff Road that will cut between those two major arterial roads. We do know that it's a massive project. The DOT has announced a $121 million budget for this project. Because it's new construction, lots of landowners will be impacted. You know, if this were the widening of an existing roadway, still lots of landowners would be impacted just because of the nature of the project. But because it's new construction, picture a new road cutting through an area that currently is filled with businesses or homes, then you can just imagine how impacted most of those landowners are going to be as a result of a project like this. We have a calculation of approximately 90 impacted parcels along this project, and the DOT themselves are calling for 40 commercial or business relocations or displacements, 2 residential relocations, and approximately 40 acres of new right-of-way acquisition as a result of this project. So on those business relocations or displacements, we're not talking about folks that are just going to be compensated for a portion of their property. We're talking about businesses that currently exist that will no longer exist after this project is complete because of the significance of the impact to their parcels. Folks may wonder as they get into this if they're impacted and how does the process work? Well, at some point, according to the DOT, in early 2023, so going into this winter, probably into the spring of 2023, you'll be contacted either by somebody from the South Carolina DOT or a third-party representative from the DOT, and they'll let you know what they're going to do to your property, what they might desire to take from your property. They're going to have an appraisal, and they're ultimately going to make you an offer for the impact to your property. And unfortunately, many times landowners believe that that's sort of the bottom line. They think that, that's the end all be all. I have to take what the DOT offers me, and that's the end of the day. Fortunately, it's not. As a landowner that's impacted by this property, those that are impacted by this project, I should say, will have an opportunity to argue for what's known as just compensation. And that's just a legal term that means what the condemning authority is responsible for paying the landowner in a case like this for the impact that they're going to cause on their property. Just compensation can be complicated. It's not a matter of just looking at an appraisal and saying, okay, I think that's a little low. Let's go for a little more money. But you have to look at the impacts to the property. What's happening? Are you losing parking spaces? Will the building be impacted? Is there signage? What impacts are there that can be argued for to get to the landowner back in the position that he was in before the roadway came through? That's kind of why experience matters. If you're a lay person that comes into this with no experience from eminent domain or condemnation matters, it can be overwhelming. But fortunately, at Bell Carrington and myself personally, we have experience handling these cases. We know what to look for. We know some of the potential pitfalls for landowners that are overlooked during the DOT's process or can be overlooked during the DOT's initial offering process. And we help our landowners navigate the process so that they can ultimately be in as good of a position as they possibly can be on the other side of a project that is as significant as this. I mentioned the initial negotiations. Sort of from a 10,000-foot view, let me walk you through what that process may look like. If those negotiations are not successful, then there's a very real chance that you can be entered into a legal proceeding called a condemnation. And that's really whether you like it or not. If you're not successful in settling the case, then the DOT ultimately will file a condemnation proceeding. And that's a court proceeding where the DOT says, hey, because this is a public purpose under the theory of eminent domain, we're going to take your property for this use. And then you have some steps to follow throughout that process. Typically during the court process, there can be some things called depositions. There will be a process called a mediation. And ultimately, at the end of the day, if you're not successful in settling the case, then there's a chance that you could go to a jury trial. And as with any other case, that's a forum where you'll go into court and have 12 people, 12 jurors, decide what just compensation is owed to you as a landowner in any given project. It's our hope, and it's oftentimes both sides hope that a jury trial is not required in a case like this. That can be scary for both sides. It can be uncertain for both sides. And we often like to settle the case short of a jury trial. But if we're not able to, that's okay. We have the experience to try the case, and we feel confident if we give you our opinion that that's what's necessary in your particular situation. Finally, let me talk about attorney's fees. Many times potential clients think about hiring a lawyer, and then they realize, hey, I may not be able to, or I may not want to come out of pocket to pay attorney's fees. They can, certainly at times in certain cases be expensive. But at Bell Carrington, there are two things for sure. Number one, the consultation that you reach out to us for is always free. It's always no cost, and it's always no obligation. We're happy to talk to you at any time, whether you know that you're impacted, you think you may be impacted, or you have no clue whether you're impacted. Call me or email me. You'll see my contact information in the chat box in the lower right-hand side. I'm always happy to talk to you for any length of time for no cost, just to kind of walk you through what I think may happen to you, or there may be some good news and that I can tell you that you're not impacted at all. But if you are, we'll go through your case individually. We have some proprietary software that we've developed here at Bell Carrington that will allow me to pull up your particular parcel within a few minutes while we're on the phone. I can share that with you while we're on the phone, and we will be able to talk about the impact to your property. So feel free to do that. You'll never have any obligation or any risk if you're impacted and you would like to go forward with our firm. The second thing that I can guarantee you is that you'll never have to come out of pocket in any eminent domain case with Bell Carrington for attorney's fees. We operate on what's known as a contingency fee basis, and that just basically means that we're going to work the case for you, and we're going to reach an outcome at the end based on either a settlement or a jury trial verdict. And whatever that settlement or that jury trial verdict is, our fee is a percentage of either the settlement or the verdict. And so again, you're never going to have to pay out of pocket for any fees, certainly for never for any consultations. And we would just love to have that initial consultation with you to see if you're impacted and how we may be able to help going forward. So again, look in the chat box for our team's contact information. You can call or email me or our team anytime. Don't hesitate to do so. And at this time, if there are any questions from anybody on the stream, I'll be happy to take those from you. If you're not comfortable asking any questions in the public forum, let me know. We'll be glad to reach back out to you privately. And it looks like we have a question from our team here. When do I need to contact you? Well, on a project like this that is as impactful as it is, it's important to contact us as soon as possible. So I think it's important to start contacting us now if you think that you may be along the impacted route. Certainly, if you've received anything from the DOT already, reach out to us. Give me a call, now, this week, early next week, as soon as you possibly can. The quicker that we can get involved, it's always better in the long run. We'll wait just a couple of minutes to see if we have any other questions come in. You'll see my email there, mgault, mgault, at bellcarrington.com. Feel free to reach out to me directly. We have a question from our team. When will I get paid? Well, that's a complicated question, and it depends on each individual parcel. So if the impact is significant or if the impact is relatively insignificant, those are all factors that go into when this case may potentially settle. The case may not settle, and whether or not it settles early on or goes to a jury trial, those are all factors that calculate into how long this process may take. You see our phone number there, 803-509-5078. Feel free to reach out there. An alternative number is 864-426-3001. You can reach us at either of those. I can assure you that I'll get back to you soon, and I'll be glad to have a conversation with you, whether or not you're impacted, just to sort of walk you through what may happen to you, or if anybody that you know is impacted, feel free to refer them our way, and we'll be glad to help those folks out as well. Looks like another question from our team. I've been contacted by a right-of-way agent. What should I do? Well, the first thing to do is to contact me or our firm or some other firm to help you. Certainly we come to you today to appeal to you to reach out to us, but the most important advice that I can give you is to get some help from somebody with some experience that may be able to walk you through a project like this, tell you what you may need to look out for, and let you know ultimately if they can help you based on your particular situation. Sure, Danielle, I'll enter that number here for you. And in cases when they do not take the entire property, but some of the property, can you just negotiate changes? So thank you for that question, Dan. Certainly be glad to reach out to you about your particular property. I see that they're wanting to make a change to the entrance of your property. In my former career with the DOT, I've seen some cases where the plans can be changed. I've seen some cases where right-of-way can be pulled back or altered or amended in some way, shape, or form. It's not in every case. It's not on every parcel. It sort of depends on a number of factors, looking at cross sections and actual plan sheets and engineered drawings. And so we'll be glad to give you a call, Dan, or you feel free to reach out to us at the information above, and we'll be glad to see what we can do for you. All right, guys. Thank you very much. We've been on, coming on 20 minutes now. I appreciate those of you that have joined us. If you have any questions going forward, feel free to reach out. No obligation. I hope you can tell that I'm happy to kind of talk about this subject. It's something that I'm passionate about, and I look forward to working with some of you going forward. Thanks again, everybody. Talk to you soon.